The Wolf Bridge was not built for women who were loved. It was built for women the kingdom wanted to forget. Maris Thornveil stood at its edge in a torn silver bridal cloak, while the entire royal court watched from behind her. The cloak had been sewn for a queen. Now it hung from her shoulders like a shroud, its moon thread ripped where the court healers had searched her skin for signs of the curse. They had found the mark beneath her collarbone before the wedding vows were finished. A thin, black crescent cold, as winter iron spreading across her heart like a shadow trying to become a wound. By sunset she had been named Bride. By moonrise she had been named Danger. By midnight, Alpha King Rhovan Blackmere had banished her. He stood 20 paces behind her on the white stone terrace of Blackmere Court, tall and motionless beneath the storm-dark sky. Black wolf fur lined his battle cloak. A silver crown rested against his dark hair. His face was sharp, beautiful, and unreadable in the torchlight, the kind of face bards called merciless because they never had to watch the eyes closely enough to see pain hiding there. Maris had watched his eyes when he rejected her. That was the mistake. A cruel man would have been easier to hate. Rhovan had not looked pleased when High Bridge Seer Caldra Ashmorn declared the mark a bride curse. He had not smiled when the nobles drew their heirs back from Maris as if grief were contagious. He had not even looked away when Caldra placed the exile chain around Maris's wrists. He had only gone terribly still. Stillness was not refusal. It was the kind of fear that let another hand choose the crueler law. Then he had said the words, "She is no longer my bride." He did not know then that the bridge would treat those words as evidence. The court had gasped as if the rejection were justice instead of a blade. Maris had not begged. She had learned long ago that a cursed girl could lose everything and still be judged greedy for wanting her name spoken gently. She was the last daughter of House Thornveil, a minor bloodline ruined after her mother was exiled across the Wolf Bridge years before. The court said her family carried bad moon luck. They said Thornveil brides brought Baron Winter's dead pup's broken bonds. They said Rhovan had been merciful to accept her at all. Now that he had rejected her, they called him wise. Highbridge Seer Caldra stepped beside Maris, her pale robes untouched by rain, her silver staff carved with the open jaws of 2 wolves. She was not young, but age had sharpened her instead of softening her. Her gray eyes swept over the court, then settled on the bridge. By ancient mercy, Caldra announced the cursed bride shall be carried beyond Blackmere lands. Her name shall be removed from mate record, court record, and royal memory. No wolf shall follow. No voice shall call her back. No bond shall remain. The nobles bowed their heads. Mercy. That was what they called it. The Wolf Bridge stretched across a gorge so deep the bottom was swallowed by mist. It was made of pale stone black root and old wolf bone, though no mason in the kingdom would admit to shaping it. Its railings curved like ribs. Its path bent slightly under moonlight as if it were not a road but the spine of something sleeping. At the far side waited the Exile forest where unwanted women were sent and never named again. The bridge did not carry guilt away. It carried names out of record. Maris looked down at her chained hands. The silver links were delicate. Bridal links. Exile links. In Blackmere, the court preferred cruelty when it looked ceremonial. "Walk," Caldra said softly. Maris did not move. A murmur stirred behind her. Caldra leaned closer. "Do not make him condemn you twice. That hurt more than the chain." Maris turned her head just enough to look at Rhovan. His jaw tightened. Nothing else in him moved. "If I am to be erased," Maris said, her voice hoarse but steady, "then say my name first." The court fell silent. Caldra's eyes narrowed. "The law does not require sentiment." "No," Maris said. "It requires truth. You are sending Maris Thornveil across the bridge. Not curse. Not bride rot. Not danger. My name." A few nobles scoffed. Someone whispered that humiliation had made her bold. Someone else said cursed women always wanted the last word. Irvin's gaze locked on her. For one dangerous heartbeat, Maris thought he might speak. Instead, Caldra struck the terrace stone with her staff. Maris Thornveil, rejected bride of Blackmere, step onto the Wolf Bridge and be carried from the kingdom. The bridge stones flashed once as if the words had entered them wrong. Not her name. Not the curse. The sentence. Maris stepped forward. The pale stones beneath her bare feet, lit with cold silver. the bridge shuddered. Every wolf in the court lifted its head. Maris felt it then, not beneath her skin but beneath the bridge, a low wounded groan like an ancient beast waking with a spear still buried in its chest. The exile chain tightened around her wrists and pulled her onward. She walked because there was nowhere else to place her dignity. She walked because if she fell they would say the curse had taken her. She walked because Rhovan Blackmere had rejected her in front of every house that had ever wanted her bloodline gone. Behind her the court grew smaller. Ahead the mist opened its mouth. Halfway across the bridge, the black crescent over Maris's heart burned cold. She stopped. Not by choice. Something beneath the bridge had caught on the word rejected, not the word cursed. The exile chain went slack. Caldra's voice rang from the terrace. Continue. Maris tried to lift her foot. The bridge would not let her. Exile required a true debt. Fear was not enough. And a bride rejected by a frightened king was not the same as a traitor owed to the bridge. The stones beneath her shifted. Slowly. Painfully. Like the spine of a wounded wolf turning against the hand that had broken it. The court began to scream. The wolf bridge groaned, bent in the moonlight, and started curving back toward Blackmere Court. Rhovan stepped forward at last. No, he whispered. He was not calling Maris back. Not yet. He was hearing his own sentence return with teeth. Then his shadow tore open. A massive black wolf ripped itself from the darkness at his feet, larger than any beast in the royal kennels, its eyes burning silver blue with fury. The nobles scattered as it lunged past the Alpha King, past Caldra's staff, past the exile guards, and onto the living bridge. It did not run to Rhovan's command. It ran to the oath, waking beneath Maris's feet. The black wolf stopped beside the rejected bride, lowered its head to the bridge stones, and growled at the throne behind them. It did not claim her. It challenged the sentence that had named her exile. The bridge did not bring Maris back as bride. It brought her back as witness. The wolf bridge did not turn back quickly. It turned like an old law dragging a lie home by the throat. Stone by stone, rib by rib, the living road curved away from the exile forest and toward Blackmere Court. The mist behind Maris Thornveil folded shut as if the forest had been denied its offering. Beneath her bare feet, the pale bridge stones glowed silver, each one waking with a sound like a wolf drawing breath after years under ice. No one on the terrace moved. They had watched many women cross the wolf bridge. No one had ever watched the bridge return one. Maris stood halfway along the turning road, her torn silver bridal cloak whipping in the wind. The exile chain hung loose from her wrists, now no longer pulling, no longer certain. Beside her, the Alpha King's black wolf kept its head lowered to the stones. Its ears were pinned back, not in submission to Maris, not in devotion, but in fierce attention to something beneath the bridge that the court had never allowed to speak. High Bridge Seer Caldra Ashmorn recovered first. Seal the bridge. The exile guards stared at her. Caldra struck her staff against the terrace. Seal it now. 3 guards rushed to the iron posts at the bridge entrance where old moon chains hung for emergencies no one had expected to use. They seized the chains and dragged them across the path. Silver hooks scraped against stone. The bridge groaned. The black wolf lifted its head. It did not growl at Caldra. It growled at the terrace behind her. At the throne doors. At the place where exile sentences were spoken as mercy and carried away as law. Rhovan Blackmere stepped forward. His face was hard, but the stillness in him had cracked. Var. The wolf's name rolled from his mouth like a command. The black wolf did not turn. The court felt that refusal. So did Rhovan. His jaw tightened. Var, return. The wolf pressed one massive paw harder against the bridgestone. Silver light flashed beneath its claws. A voice rose from the bridge. Not human. Not wolf. Not entirely stone. It sounded like old bone remembering language. Exile sentence entered. The entire court went silent. The bridge stones beneath Maris lit one by one, repeating the path she had walked. At the terrace, Caldra's spoken words appeared in pale silver across the stone air. Maris Thornveil, rejected bride of Blackmere, step onto the wolf bridge and be carried from the kingdom. The phrase rejected bride burned brighter than the rest. Then a silver line cut through it. Caldra's eyes went cold. No, the bridge answered. False term. Nobles cried out. The words kept forming slow, and merciless. Rejection is not debt. Fear is not curse. Bridehood is not exile. Maris felt the sentence pass through her chest more sharply than the cold crescent mark. The bridge had not turned back because Rhovan loved her. It had not returned because his wolf stood beside her. It had not forgiven the humiliation or healed the rejection or made her wanted. It had found a lie in the law, and she was standing on the place where the lie had broken. Caldra raised both hands. A woman erased from mate record cannot return as witness. The bridge shuddered beneath Maris's feet. The silver letters changed. A name erased is still owed if stone remembers it. Maris looked down. For the first time, the bridge beneath her did not feel like a road. It felt like a mouth with every tooth clenched around a buried truth. Rhovan stared at the sentence hanging above the stones. His own words came back to him then, not as memory, but as evidence. She is no longer my bride. The bridge had taken the king's rejection and weighed it, not as grief, as legal force. Maris turned her face toward him. She was far enough away that the wind should have swallowed her voice. It did not. You said it before them, she said. Rovan's eyes met hers. No defense rose in them quickly enough. Caldra moved between them, her pale robes snapping in the bridge wind. The Alpha King spoke to prevent a cursed bond from endangering the throne. That is mercy under Blackmere exile law. And I repeated it, Rhovan said, the words rough in his throat. Before every house here, the bridge growled. Not the wolf. The bridge. The iron chains at its entrance cracked under the sound. Maris looked at Caldra. Then read who first taught the bridge to forget us. Caldra went still. Too still. The black wolf lowered its head again, ears forward now listening. The bridge stones beneath Maris's feet opened with lines of silver. Not cracks. Writing. The words moved backward along the path past Maris. Past the wolf. Past the terrace. Sinking into the old foundation stones of Blackmere Court. One by one names began to surface. Not noble names. Not alpha names. Women's names. Names cut from mate record. Names removed from court memory. Names never spoken after the bridge carried them away. Caldra's staff struck the stone again. Enough. The bridge did not stop. House Thornveil appeared in silver light. A murmur moved through the court like wind through dead leaves. Maris forgot how to breathe. Her family name did not burn black. It did not rot. It did not carry the mark of curse. It opened. Beneath it, older words surfaced. Bridge Oath Keepers. Caldra's face tightened. Not with surprise. With the fury of a keeper watching a sealed record learn how to open itself. Rhovan looked at her. You told the court Thornveil carried bride curse. Caldra's voice sharpened. They carried dangerous proximity to exile law, to unstable bridge memory, to old oaths that should have died for the kingdom's peace. Maris felt the bridge turn another span toward the terrace. It was not taking her back to him. It was taking the sentence back to the mouth that had spoken it. My mother, she whispered. The bridge heard. Silver light ran beneath the black wolf's paws and climbed the loose exile chain around Maris's wrists. The chain opened link by link, not falling away but reshaping into letters. Exile links did not break when the truth returned. They testified. The court watched as the wolf bridge returned its first erased name. Vaelora Thornveil, Maris's mother. The first bridge oath keeper Blackmere had taught the court to call cursed. The wolf bridge did not show Maris her mother's exile. It showed her mother refusing to cross. The silver letters of Vaelora Thornveil's name burned across the loosened chain around Maris's wrists, each link reshaping itself into record instead of restraint. The chain did not fall away. It tightened just enough to make Maris understand it was not freeing her yet. It was writing. Freedom could wait. Record could not. Across the terrace, the court watched the name open in the moonlight. High Bridge Seer Caldra Ashmorn lifted her staff before the first image could form. A return name has no standing. The bridge answered beneath Maris's feet. Stone-kept name has standing. The words carved themselves through the air in pale silver. A cold murmur passed through the nobles. Some looked at Caldra. Some looked at Rhovan Blackmere. Some looked at Maris as if the curse they had named on her skin had become less frightening than the law waking beneath her feet. Maris kept her hands still inside the chain. She wanted to tear it off. She did not. Exile links did not break when truth returned. They testified. The black wolf Var lowered his head until his muzzle nearly touched the bridge stones. His silver-blue eyes stayed fixed on the glowing words. He was not guarding Maris from the court. He was guarding the oath beneath her feet from being buried again. Caldra saw it too. "Call him back, Majesty," she said. Rhovan did not answer. His gaze had not left the name Vaelora Thornveil. Maris could feel him watching the record feel the weight of his silence from the terrace. But the bridge had already judged silence once tonight. It would not let another one pass as innocence. Maris looked down at her mother's name. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Show why she was erased." The bridge obeyed. Moonlight drained from the terrace and gathered on the road between Maris and Blackmere Court. The pale stones widened into memory. The gorge vanished beneath silver mist. The court became both present and past, filled with two crowds at once. The nobles now watching in fear, and the nobles from years ago standing in the same places with younger faces, brighter jewels, and the same careful cruelty. Vaelora Thornveil stood at the edge of the Wolf Bridge. Maris stopped breathing. Her mother was younger than Maris, remembered her wrapped in a dark blue cloak instead of exile silver. Her hair was bound in a simple braid. Her wrists were not chained. In one hand she carried a narrow bone tablet carved with bridge oath marks. In the other she held a court record with a torn seal. She did not look cursed. She looked furious. Caldra's voice cut across the memory. "This record is incomplete." The bridge stones beneath Var's paws flashed. The image sharpened. Vaelora faced the court of the past and lifted the torn record. The bridge was not made to erase women. It was made to hold names when law betrayed them. A younger bridge seer stood before her wearing the same pale robes Caldra wore now. Not Caldra, but her predecessor, old and thin with moon-white eyes and a staff carved in the same open wolf jaws. Beside him stood Caldra herself, younger, silent, watching. Caldra had been there, and silence had been her first oath to the lie. She had not forged the sentence yet. She had watched where the first fracture entered it. Rhovan stepped down one terrace stair, his expression darkening. "You saw this." Caldra did not look at him. "I was an apprentice to bridge law." Valora's voice rose from the memory. "Names have been carried out of mate record and never weighed by the bridge. Women marked inconvenient have been called cursed, so their debts never had to be proved." The past court stirred. A noble lord shouted. "Thornveil always heard too much from stone." Vaelora turned on him. "Because Thornveil kept the oath you buried." The bone tablet in her hand lit with silver. Bridge oath keeper. Not royal blood. Not bride magic. A duty older than Blackmere's right to exile. Maris felt the words strike her chest. Not queen. Not Luna. Not secret royal blood. Keeper. A bloodline made to stand where law tried to turn mercy into disappearance. The younger bridge seer struck his staff against the terrace. "Vaelora Thornveil, by order of Blackmere Court. You are named bride-cursed and unfit to remain in kingdom memory." Vaelora looked toward the bridge. The road did not light. The past court waited. Nothing happened. Maris heard a sharp breath from the nobles around her in the present. The bridge had refused the sentence then, too. Vaelora smiled once, not happily. "Say my name before you erase it." Maris's throat closed. The same demand. The same wound. The younger bridge seer's mouth tightened. "A curse has no standing to demand record." Vaelora stepped forward, but not onto the bridge. She planted herself before it. "I will not cross for a forged debt." The wolf bridge in the memory stayed dark beneath her feet. Caldra's present face had gone pale with anger. Maris turned toward her. "You knew she was not exiled." Caldra's eyes burned. "Your mother threatened the stability of every mercy law in Blackmere. She threatened the lie. She threatened the kingdom's ability to survive shame without civil bloodshed." Rhovan's voice came low, and the bride curse Caldra's jaw tightened. The bridge answered for her. Forged term. The silver words lashed across the terrace. Bride curse entered after Thornveil objection. Rhovan looked as if something had struck him in the throat. He had not invented the bride curse, but he had spoken it with a king's authority. The law he had used against Maris had not been ancient truth. It had been born from the moment the court failed to force her mother across the bridge. Maris looked back into the memory. 2 guards seized Vaelora by the arms. The wolf bridge growled, but the younger bridge seer thrust his staff into one of its side stones. Silver light snapped around the road like a muzzle. Var snarled in the present, pressing both paws to the stone as the memory tried to blur. "Hold it," Maris whispered. The black wolf lowered his body over the bridge stones and did not move. The memory cleared. Vaelora did not cross into the Exile forest. The guards dragged her backward, toward Blackmere Court, not toward prison, toward the stones that held the bridge's mouth, toward the terrace, toward the old foundation beneath the throne doors. Maris felt the chain around her wrists go cold. The bridge did not show Vaelora crossing into exile. It showed her being taken beneath Blackmere Court to the foundation stones where the bridge's mouth had first been muzzled. Vaelora Thornveil was not dragged below the court to be imprisoned. She was dragged to the mouth of the bridge. The memory carried everyone downward without moving their bodies. The terrace, the nobles, the throne doors, even the storm above Blackmere Court faded into a silver-lit underplace where the foundations of the palace showed through the floor like bones beneath skin. Maris Thornveil stood on the wolf bridge, but the bridge was also beneath the court. Now its pale stones running under the throne terrace in a hidden curve. No royal map had ever shown. The court had not built above the bridge. It had built over its mouth. Vaelora struggled in the memory as 2 guards forced her toward the foundation stones. The stones were huge and pale, veined with black root and old silver. They formed a circular hollow beneath the throne, doors shaped like the open jaws of a sleeping wolf. Between those jaws, a narrow seam breathed mist. Maris felt the chain on her wrists tighten again. Not to hurt her, to make her keep reading. Caldra Ashmorn lifted her staff. This memory has no standing. It concerns a dissolved office and a failed keeper. The bridge answered before Maris could. Oath keeper record cannot be sealed by false mercy. The words burned across the air, and several nobles stepped back as if language itself had become dangerous. Rhovan Blackmere stared at the foundation stones in the memory. He knew them. Maris saw that in the sharp stillness of his face. "You knew this place existed," she said. His eyes remained on the breathing seam. "I was told it was the old route of the bridge. Dead law. No longer used." Caldra's mouth tightened. "Because it should no longer be used." Vaelora's voice cut through the memory. "The bridge was never made to carry women out of record. It was made to keep their names when courts betrayed law." The foundation stones lit beneath her feet. The younger bridge seer raised his staff. "You speak treason against mercy." "No," Vaelora said. "I speak oath against forgery." Behind the younger seer, young Caldra stood silent, her face pale but intent. She watched not like someone confused. She watched like someone learning which word made the bridge flinch, which mark closed its breath, which kind of silence could later be called peace. Maris looked at the older Caldra. "You learned there." "I learned what happens when old oaths are allowed to outrank living kingdoms," Caldra said. "Your mother would have shattered Blackmere into accusation and counter-accusation. Every bride lost to exile, every mate record cleansed, every house that survived a scandal by removing one dangerous woman opened again." "Then it was never mercy," Maris said. "It was survival," for whom Caldra did not answer. The memory did. The younger bridge seer struck the staff against the foundation. Moon chains dropped from the ceiling of the underplace. Not metal, but light, hardened into links. They wrapped around the seam between the wolf jaws. The bridge groaned in the present and the past at once. Var snarled and flattened himself over the stones beside Maris. His body shook with effort. He was not attacking anyone. He was holding the road open with his own weight, pressing his paws into the oath beneath her feet, while the old moon chains tried to pull the memory shut. Rhovan called his name once, then stopped before command entered his voice. That restraint cut through Maris more sharply than apology would have. Caldra saw it and spoke quickly. "Majesty, do not mistake hesitation for wisdom. The bridge is forcing old grief into active law." Rhovan looked at the silver words, then at Maris's chains. His voice was rough when he answered. "I used the word they forged from her. And I called it mercy. No one in the court moved. The admission did not cleanse him. It entered evidence. The bridgestones beneath Maris flashed. Valora in the memory twisted hard enough to tear one sleeve from her shoulder. If you muzzle the mouth, the bridge will not forget. It will wait for blood that still knows how to ask. The younger bridge seer pressed his staff into the seam. Then Thornveil blood will be named cursed before it can ask again. Maris felt the black crescent over her heart burn cold. Not curse. Label. A mark made to warn the court when bridge oath blood returned close enough to read what had been sealed. Caldra's eyes sharpened as Maris understood. Silver letters moved along the links, her mother's name bright between them. Read what they sealed beneath her name. The foundation stones opened. The sound was not a crack. It was a breath dragged through centuries of stone. The seam between the wolf jaws widened, and from below it came a voice Maris had not heard since childhood. Not as a body, not as a ghost, but as an oath that had never stopped speaking. Valora Thornveil's voice filled the bridge. I name the first law, no exile stands unless the bridge accepts true debt. The court shuddered. The voice continued. I name the second, no woman's name may be carried out of record without witness. Caldra struck her staff down. Silence it. Var growled into the stones. The third law rose louder. I name the third. Fear is not debt. Shame is not curse. And rejection is not exile. Maris's chain flared so brightly the court shielded its eyes. The foundation did not hold Valora's body. It held her voice, still speaking the oath Blackmere had buried. Valora Thornveil's voice did not rise from beneath the court like a memory. It rose like law that had been buried alive. The 3 oath lines hung above the wolf bridge in silver fire, bright enough to turn every noble face pale. No exile stands unless the bridge accepts true debt. No woman's name may be carried out of record without witness. Fear is not debt, shame is not curse, and rejection is not exile. Maris Thornveil stood in the middle of the living road with the loosened chain around her wrists, feeling every word enter the links. Her mother's voice was not soft. It was not the lullaby voice Maris remembered from childhood, not the voice that had once braided her hair and told her not to fear storms because wolves heard best in thunder. This voice had been kept in stone too long. It had edges. High Bridge seer Caldra Ashmorn raised her staff again, but the silver light no longer bent easily around it. Buried oath is not active law. The bridge answered beneath Maris's feet. Buried oath wakes when false sentence is entered. The court recoiled. Caldra's face hardened. False sentence must be judged by the keeper of exile memory. Maris looked at her. Then why are you afraid of memory speaking without you? A low growl moved through the stones. Var the black wolf kept his body pressed to the bridge, his massive paws planted over the glowing seams. Moon chains still pulled at the memory from beneath Blackmere Court, trying to drag the foundation mouth shut, but the wolf did not move. He did not look at Maris like a mate beast. He did not look at Rhovan like a servant beast. He listened to the oath, and his body became weight against erasure. Rhovan watched him with a pain he did not name. Maris saw it. She did not soften for it. Not yet. Pain in a king did not undo the sentence he had spoken. Caldra stepped between Rhovan and the bridge light. Majesty, if this oath is accepted, every exile performed under bride curse must be reviewed. Rovan's voice was rough. Then review them. A hiss moved through the nobles. Caldra turned sharply. And if review breaks mate record. If houses lose clean inheritance, if old bonds return to challenge living marriages, if dead names stand beside heirs who were raised believing the court had saved them from cursed women. Rhovan said. Nothing. Maris heard the trap. Caldra was not defending cruelty as cruelty. She was defending the relief people felt after someone inconvenient disappeared, and a clean record took her place. Valora's voice rose again from the foundation. Mercy that requires forgetting is not mercy. It is disposal. The exile chain on Maris's wrists flashed. Caldra pointed to it. That chain was placed by lawful right. Maris lifted her hands. Then let the chain say what it was made to carry. The links tightened. For one breath, fear cut through her. She thought they might close again, might drag her forward, might become the pretty silver prison the court had meant them to be. Instead, the chain opened its record. Silver letters ran along every link. Name removal, mate record severance, court memory cleansing, royal mercy transfer. Maris stared at the last phrase. So did Rhovan. Transfer, he said. Caldra's mouth went still. The bridge heard him. The word transfer burned brighter. Rhovan descended another terrace step. What was transferred? Caldra's eyes sharpened. Majesty. What was transferred? This time his voice carried command. The bridge stones dimmed. Valora's oath voice faltered. Var's head snapped toward Rhovan, not threatening but warning. Maris felt the road beneath her tighten. Rhovan stopped at once. The silence after his mistake was terrible. Maris turned toward him. Ask. The word was small. It struck him harder than accusation. Rhovan drew a slow breath. When he spoke again, he stripped the command from his voice, as if tearing metal from flesh. What was transferred? The bridge answered. Rejected mate bond remnant. The court erupted. A noblewoman covered her mouth. A gray-haired alpha lord swore under his breath. Several heirs backed away from the terrace edge, staring at the throne doors, as if the palace itself had grown teeth. Maris did not move. Her heart had gone cold around the black crescent mark. Rejected mate bond remnant. Not mercy, not exile. Harvest. Valora's voice continued from beneath the foundation stones. When a woman was named cursed and carried beyond record, the bond she was denied did not vanish. It was drawn through the exile chain weighed by false mercy and fed into the throne as stability. Rhovan looked toward Blackmere Court. Toward his own throne beyond the doors. The throne he had inherited. The throne that had felt colder every year, though no fire in the hall ever went out. Caldra spoke quickly. The transfer preserved the Alpha line after the Blood Wars. Without those remnants, Blackmere would have fractured. Packs would have torn each other apart. Brides marked dangerous would have taken kingdoms down with them. Maris stared at her. You used women as mortar. Caldra's eyes flashed. We used what exile law permitted. The bridge never permitted it. The bridge was made obedient. Valora's voice struck the court like a bell. By muzzle. By false terms. By Thornveil's silence. Maris felt the chain shift again. This time it did not ride on the air. It pulled. Not toward the exile forest. Not toward Rhovan. Toward the closed throne doors. The bridge beneath her curved another span, dragging its living path closer to Blackmere Court. The terrace stones cracked as the wolf bridge forced the sentence back to the palace mouth. Rhovan stepped aside instead of blocking it. That choice entered the record too. Caldra saw the movement and went pale with fury. If the bridge reaches the throne, it will read what the crown has received. Maris looked at Rhovan. He did not look away. I used the word they forged from her, he said, voice low enough that it hurt more than shouting. And I called it mercy. The bridge flared beneath him. No forgiveness. Only evidence. Maris turned back to the chain. Read the first transfer. Caldra struck her staff against the terrace. No. The moon chains under the court tightened. The memory began to blur. Var snarled and dug his claws into the bridge stones until silver light burst around his paws. The road held. The chain answered Maris. First mercy transfer. Valora Thornveil. Maris's breath left her. The throne doors opened by themselves. Inside Blackmere Court beyond the terrace, the Alpha throne began to glow with the same cold silver as the exile chain. The first bride Blackmere claimed to save had not been carried into the forest. Her rejected bond had been carried into the throne. The Alpha throne answered the exile chain before any person in Blackmere Court dared to move. Cold silver light spread from its base, climbing the black wolfbone legs, threading through the carved armrests and pooling beneath the crown-shaped back like moonwater trapped under ice. The throne did not blaze. It woke quietly, which made the court fear it more. A thing that had fed on forgotten names did not need to roar when it finally recognized one. Maris Thornveil stood on the bridge with the chain burning around her wrists and felt her mother's name pull toward the hall. Valora Thornveil. First mercy transfer. The words did not cut like grief. They pressed deeper than that. They made every childhood silence around her mother sharpen into shape. The empty chair. The servants who stopped speaking whenever Maris entered. The way court records had listed Valora as exiled. Yet no one could say who had seen her reach the forest, because no one had. Caldra Ashmorn moved toward the throne doors. Close the hall. The guards hesitated. The wolf bridge had already turned back to the terrace, its living stones bending toward the court. Var remained low on the bridge, black fur, bristling paws locked over the glowing seams. He did not chase the guards. He did not look to Maris for praise. He listened beneath the road, holding the memory open with the full weight of the Alpha King's own wolf. Caldra struck her staff down. Close it. This time the guards obeyed. The throne doors started to swing inward. Rhovan Blackmere stepped into their path. The movement silenced the terrace. He did not look at Maris first. He looked at the throne. No. Caldra's voice sharpened. Majesty, if the chain reads the throne in open court, every pack under Blackmere will hear that the Alpha line was sustained by rejected bond remnants. Rhovan's face was hard as winter stone. Was it Caldra did not answer fast enough? The bridge answered for her. Received. The word appeared across the threshold in silver. The nobles recoiled. Rhovan did not. His throat worked once as if something bitter had lodged there. How many Caldra's eyes flashed. Do not ask a living bridge questions it was trained to misunderstand. Maris lifted her chained hands. The links tightened not as punishment but as urgency. Then let the throne answer what it received. Caldra turned on her. You have no standing to interrogate the Alpha throne. The bridgestones beneath Maris flared. Bridge oath witness has standing where erased name enters royal record. The words hung in the air. Maris felt every eye in the court return to her, not with pity now and not with desire, with fear of function. She was not a Luna rising from humiliation. She was not a bride restored by love. She was the person standing where a false sentence had broken, and the bridge had begun to use her as the mouth law had tried to remove. Rhovan looked at the words, then at her. What does it need from me? He asked. Maris almost laughed, but there was no humor left in her. Not command. His jaw tightened. Not defense, she added. His eyes darkened. Then what answer? The throne pulsed brighter. Caldra stepped in front of Rhovan. Careful, Majesty. Answering is how old law traps living kings. Maris looked at her. No. Silence is how you trapped women. Valor's voice rose beneath the bridge, steadier now. Read the transfer path. The exile chain opened another line. Bride named cursed. Mate record severed. Name carried out. Bond remnant redirected. Throne received. A noble lord made a strangled sound. This is treason against the Alpha seat. Rhovan turned his head. No. It is testimony against what fed it. The lord paled. Caldra's mouth thinned. You weaken yourself for a woman who was legally rejected. Rhovan looked toward Maris then, and the whole court felt the weight of that glance. It was not soft. It was worse. It was accountable. I made her legally rejected. The bridge did not glow with forgiveness. It glowed with record. Maris's chest hurt, not because she forgave him, because he had finally stopped hiding behind Caldra's law. The chain pulled forward and Maris took one step. The wolf bridge moved with her, its stones sliding over the terrace without breaking, curving toward the open hall like a living spine entering the body that had lied about it. Var moved beside the glowing seams, still low, still listening. Caldra raised both hands. Moon chains descended from the upper arches, thin and bright, wrapping around the bridge's edge. By Exile Memory Authority, I suspend all bridge readings until the court appoints a sealed review. Maris felt the chain on her wrists begin to lock. The silver letters blurred. Valora's voice thinned. Var snarled, but the moon chains tightened around the bridge stones, dragging them downward. Caldra's face turned calm again. A sealed review will determine which portions of this disturbance are admissible. Maris understood. A sealed review meant delay. Delay meant private correction. Private correction meant the names would vanish into careful language just as they had before. She looked down at the chain. Mother, she whispered, how do I keep it open? For a moment, nothing answered. Then Valora's voice came through the links close enough that Maris felt it against her bones. Do not ask the bridge to free you. Ask it to read you. The black crescent over Maris's heart burned cold. She went still. Caldra's eyes widened. Do not. Maris lifted her chained hands before the court. Read me. The wolf bridge stopped fighting the moon chains. It turned its silver light inward. Every link around Maris's wrists flared. The black crescent beneath her torn bridal cloak shone through the fabric not as curse but as script. Silver letters formed around it, old and precise. Bridge oath bloodline. False curse applied. Sentence active. Witness living, the court erupted. Caldra shouted over them. That mark was confirmed by temple healers. The bridge answered. Healers read surface, bridge read sentence. Rhovan stared at the mark glowing over Maris's heart. His face changed in a way no apology could have matched. He was seeing the wound he had allowed to become law. Maris felt the bridge pull one more record from the chain. Not her mother's this time. Her own. The silver words opened beneath her feet. Current sentence source. Alpha rejection. Rhovan did not look away. Caldra did. Maris's voice was barely more than breath. Read the speaker. The bridge answered. Rhovan Blackmere. The Alpha King closed his eyes once, then opened them. And the sentence he asked. The chain tightened around Maris's wrists until she gasped. The bridge read the words he had spoken. She is no longer my bride. The phrase burned above the terrace. Then beneath it another line appeared. Used to activate forged exile law. The court went silent. Rhovan looked at Maris across the bridge, across the returned sentence, across the throne, glowing with her mother's stolen bond. I gave them the mouth, he said. The wolf bridge answered before Maris could. Now answer what your mouth opened. Rhovan Blackmere did not answer quickly. That saved nothing. The wolf bridge waited with the patience of old law, its silver words hanging between the rejected bride and the Alpha King, like a blade neither one of them could look away from. Now answer what your mouth opened. Maris Thornveil stood with the exile chain burning around her wrists, and felt the sentence tighten through every link. She had thought rejection was a door slammed shut. Now she understood it had been a key placed into someone else's lock. Rhovan looked from her to the glowing throne, then to Caldra Ashmorn. Caldra's face warned him before her mouth did. Majesty, do not answer a bridge. Under unlawful disturbance. The court has not confirmed admissible standing. The bridge growled beneath Maris's feet. Not loud. Final. Rovan's voice came low. I opened Maris Thornveil's exile. The words entered the bridge. Silver light ran from the terrace to the throne doors, then back to the chain around Maris's wrists. The bridge answered. Exile opened by Alpha rejection. Debt not named. The court shifted uneasily. Caldra lifted her chin. Debt was named. Bride curse. False term, the bridge replied. Caldra's eyes flashed. Danger to throne. Fear is not debt. Unstable bond. Rejected bond is not crime. Maris felt every correction strike the court harder than accusation. The bridge was not pleading for her. It was not defending her because she was wounded. It was taking each polished word the court had used to erase women and weighing it against the oath beneath the stones. One by one the words failed. Rhovan swallowed. Then, the debt was mine. The terrace went silent. Maris looked at him sharply. He did not soften the sentence. He did not look noble while saying it. He looked stripped. I feared what the mark meant, he said. I feared what Caldra told me it would do to the throne. I feared the bond would kill her if I kept her near me. His eyes moved to Maris. So I let my fear speak as law. The bridge flared. Not mercy. Record. Caldra stepped toward him. Your fear was royal prudence. Rhovan did not look at her. No. It was fear. The wolf bridge accepted the word. Fear entered. Not debt. The chain around Maris loosened by one link. Only one. Enough to show the court the difference between confession and repair. Violaura's voice rose from the foundation below the throne doors. Read where the false exile would have carried the bond. Caldra moved at once. Seal the throne. The guards did not move. Too much had already been read. Too many words had failed. Caldra turned on them. Seal it. This time the moon chains descended from the upper arches, whipping toward the bridge like silver serpents. Var sprang before they struck, not toward Caldra, not toward the guards, but down onto the glowing seam beneath Maris's feet. His huge black body hit the stones with a sound like a drum in the earth. The chains froze above him. Var bared his teeth at the throne. Maris understood. He was not protecting her from pain. He was holding the path of the sentence open. She lifted her chained wrists. Read where the false exile would have carried the bond. The bridge obeyed. The silver letters moved from her chain to the terrace, then crawled into Blackmere Court. Across the open hall, the Alpha throne glowed brighter, and beneath its seat a narrow channel appeared in the stone, thin, hidden, and lined with old moonbone. A court healer covered his mouth. An elder Alpha whispered, "No," the bridge read. Rejected bride sent across Wolf Bridge. Name removed from mate record. Bond remnant drawn through exile chain. Mercy transfer opened. Recipient Alpha throne. Maris's stomach turned cold. The black crescent over her heart pulsed once, not like a curse, but like a seal being caught before it could close. Rhovan stared at the hidden channel beneath his throne. "Remnant," he said. Caldra answered too quickly. "A harmless residue. A grief remnant. Nothing living." Valora's voice cut through her. "Then why did women not return?" No one breathed. The bridge answered. "Bond remnant cannot be removed from living mate without death of name, bond, or wolf." Rhovan's face went white. The court recoiled from Maris as if they were seeing the edge of the exile forest open beneath her feet. Maris did not step back. She looked at the throne, then at the loose chain, then at Rhovan. "If I had crossed," the bridge finished. Maris Thornveil name erased. Bond remnant harvested. Witness line silenced. Alpha throne strengthened. Var gave a low, wounded growl. Rovan's eyes dropped to his wolf. For the first time, Maris saw fear in the Alpha King that had nothing to do with his crown. "What would it take from him?" Rhovan asked. Caldra turned sharply. "Majesty, what would it take from him?" The bridge held silent. Rhovan looked at Maris. "Ask it." The words surprised her. Not command. Request. Maris turned her palms upward inside the loosened chain. "Read Var's oath beast. Sentence challenger. Living anchor to Alpha command." Then another line formed. "If rejected bond enters throne, anchor wolf bears the drain." Rhovan staggered half a step. Caldra's calm fractured. "The Alpha wolf exists to preserve the throne." Var snarled. This time the sound tore through the court. Rovan's voice dropped to a deadly quiet. "You knew." Caldra said nothing. The bridge did. Bridge seer Caldra Ashmorn confirmed mercy transfer risk before sentence. The terrace broke into panic. Maris felt the chain tighten again, not from Caldra, but from the record pulling toward its next question. She looked at Rhovan. He had rejected her in fear. But someone had handed that fear. A law sharpened to murder. Rhovan turned toward Caldra. "You let me speak a sentence that would have drained her bond into my throne and my wolf into its anchor." Caldra's eyes were bright and cold. "I let you preserve Blackmere." The throne flared. The hidden channel opened wider, and beneath it countless silver threads began to rise, each one tied to a woman's erased name. The silver threads rose from beneath the Alpha throne like moonlight pulled from graves. Each one trembled with a name, not written fully. Not yet. Only fragments surfaced at first, a first letter, a broken house, marked the shape of a mate bond severed before it could answer. They hung between throne and bridge in thin, shining lines, stretching across the open hall toward the Wolf Bridge, where Maris Thornveil stood with exile chain around her wrists and her mother's oath voice beneath her feet. The court fell back from them. No one wanted to touch what had made their peace possible. Rhovan Blackmere stood closest to the throne. His black armor reflected the silver threads like scars. Beside Maris, Var snarled low, his huge body still pressed to the bridgestones, but the sound was weaker now. Every thread that rose from the hidden channel pulled at him. Not visibly. Worse than visibly. The drain moved through the oath beneath the stones, through Alpha Command, through the place where Wolf and Throne had been taught to answer together. Maris saw his front legs tremble. Var Rhovan said. This time it was not command. It was pain. The wolf did not look back. He kept his muzzle low to the bridge and held the sentence open. High Bridge Seer Caldra Ashmorn stepped toward the silver threads with terrible calm. Those names are settled law. the bridge answered. Erase name is not settled. It is unpaid. Caldra's staff struck the floor. Unpaid debts can destroy kingdoms. Maris looked at the threads. These were not debts. They were dangers, Caldra said. Women whose bonds threatened succession. Brides whose rejection would have caused pack war if their names remained active. Mates whose wolves would have called armies after them. The wolf bridge gave Blackmere a way to remove the spark before the kingdom burned. The bridge did not give it, Maris said. You muzzled it. Caldra's eyes flashed. We taught it mercy. Valora's voice rose from the foundation stones. You taught it to forget the question before the answer could shame you. The threads shivered. One silver line brightened and stretched toward Maris's chain. Rhovan took a step forward. Do not let it take from her. Maris turned her head. It is not taking. She lifted her wrist slowly. The chain pulled the thread closer, and a name opened in the air. Serena Veilheart. A murmur passed through the older nobles. Maris watched their faces. Some recognized the name and hated themselves for it. Others hated the bridge for returning it. The chain continued reading. Rejected during winter succession dispute. Named moonsick. Mate record severed. Bond remnant transferred. Wolf died 3 nights after erasure. A woman near the back of the court covered her mouth and sank to her knees. My aunt, she whispered. Caldra did not look at her. Unnecessary removal. That dispute would have split 3 packs. The kneeling woman stared at the throne with horror. We were told she wandered into frost. Rhovan's face tightened. Another thread brightened. Then another. Var shook harder. Maris felt the bridge strain beneath him. No, she whispered. Not all at once. The bridge pulsed. Bridge oath witness may choose order of reading. The words appeared beneath her bare feet. For the first time, the bridge did not drag her forward. It waited. Not because it loved her, because the oath recognized function. Maris swallowed. Her arms ached from the chain, but she forced herself to stand straighter. Then begin with the law that made transfers lawful. Caldra's head snapped toward her. Too late. The silver threads stopped rising. The hidden channel beneath the throne opened wider, and from inside it came not a name but a carved line of law. Mercy transfer preserves throne strength when rejected bond is declared dangerous by bridge seer authority. Rhovan read it aloud, voice low and deadly. Declared dangerous by bridge seer authority. Caldra lifted her chin. The bridge seer bears the burden of judgment. And the bridge, Maris asked. The stone road growled under her. The law line changed. Bridge acceptance omitted after Thornveil objection. The court erupted. Rhovan turned to Caldra. You removed the bridge from exile law. Caldra's jaw clenched. I preserved the law when the bridge became unstable. When the bridge refused false debt, Maris said. When oath-keepers made mercy impossible. Caldra snapped. The words rang too loudly. There it was. Not hatred of Maris alone. Not jealousy. Not a single hidden murder. A whole office built on the belief that truth was too dangerous for kingdoms, and that women could be erased if their names threatened succession, inheritance, pride, or peace. Rhovan looked at the throne, then at Var. The wolf's breathing had grown rough. If this transfer completes, Rhovan said, it drains him. Caldra's silence answered. Maris felt the chain around her wrists tighten. The black crescent over her heart burned cold again. The bridge began reading her active sentence. Current transfer incomplete. Rejected bride named. False curse applied. Alpha rejection entered. Mercy channel opened. Anchor wolf resisting. Rhovan went still. Maris looked down at Var. The wolf was not standing beside her because he had chosen a bride. He was holding the bridge open because the forged sentence had already begun to pull through him. Rhovan's face emptied of color. How do I? It would preserve the alpha line. Var's silver blue eyes lifted to Rhovan at last. Not pleading. Waiting. The bridge read one final line across the terrace. If anchor yields, rejected. Bride crosses as erased. If anchor holds, alpha throne must answer the death law. Rhovan looked from his wolf to Maris to the glowing throne. Then he took one step away from the throne and toward the bridge. Caldra's voice cracked like ice. Majesty, if you answer the death law, you answer every throne-fed exile before her. Rhovan did not stop. Then let them hear me. The hidden channel beneath the throne opened fully, and every erased name tied to it turned toward the Alpha King. The erased names did not scream. They waited. That was worse than accusation. Hundreds of silver threads hung between the Alpha throne and the Wolf Bridge, each one turned toward Rhovan Blackmere as if a name could have eyes. The court stood frozen behind him. Nobles who had once whispered over cleared records and convenient exiles now looked at the shining threads, as if the women they had forgotten had returned without bodies, and still carried enough weight to judge them. Rhovan stepped onto the first stone of the bridge. The road did not bend away. It measured him. Var's body shook where he held the glowing seam open. The black wolf's breath came rougher, now misting silver in the cold air. The hidden mercy channel beneath the throne continued pulling at him thread by thread, because the forged sentence against Maris had never been meant to end with her disappearance alone. It had been made to feed the throne and weaken the living anchor that could challenge it. Maris tightened her hands inside the exile chain. "Do not command it," she said. Rhovan stopped. His eyes moved to hers. "I know." The words were quiet. They entered the bridge without force. For a moment, Maris saw the man beneath the Alpha King, not innocent, not clean, not forgiven, but finally aware that power could do harm even when wrapped around fear. He had spoken her rejection aloud. He had given Caldra's forged law the royal mouth it needed. The bridge would not let him stand outside that sentence now. Caldra Ashmorn moved toward the throne with both hands raised. "Majesty, step back. If you stand on the bridge, the death law may bind you as speaker of sentence." Rhovan did not look away from Maris. "It should." The court inhaled. Caldra's face hardened. "Do you understand what you are saying?" "A speaker-bound death law can strip the Alpha line of command standing." "Then read it," Maris said. Caldra turned on her. "You have read enough." "No," Maris said. "I have listened enough." The wolf bridge brightened under her feet. Valora Thornveil's voice rose from the foundation beneath the court. "Bridge oath witness may demand full law when living sentence remains active." The exile chain around Maris's wrists unlocked another link. "Not freedom. Standing." Maris lifted her hands. "Read the death law." The silver threads pulled taut. Beneath the throne, the hidden channel opened like a wound. Words rose from it in cold light. "If rejected bride crosses under false curse name shall be removed. Bond remnant transferred. Witness bloodline silenced. And anchor wolf drained to preserve Alpha command." Var's legs buckled. Rhovan lunged forward, then stopped before he touched the wolf. The restraint tore through him visibly. Maris felt it too. The instinct to save could become another command. The bridge had already taught them that. Caldra seized the moment. "You see, this is why the law must finish. If the anchor wolf does not bear the drain, the death law rebounds on the throne. Packs will challenge you before dawn. Your enemies will scent weakness. Border wolves will break oath. Every life protected by Blackmere authority will stand in danger, because one cursed bride refuses exile." Maris looked at the glowing words. "One cursed bride," she repeated. The bridge stones growled. "False term." Caldra ignored it. "One woman cannot outweigh a kingdom." Valora's voice answered cold and clear. "A kingdom that must erase one woman to stand has already fallen somewhere no banner can see." The silver threads trembled. Rhovan reached the place where Var held the seam. The wolf lifted his head slightly. Its silver blue eyes met his. Not obedience. Not accusation. Recognition. Rhovan lowered himself to one knee on the bridge. The court broke into whispers. An Alpha King kneeling on the exile road should have looked like surrender. It did not. It looked like answer. "I opened the sentence," Rhovan said. The bridge flared. "I spoke rejection as law. I let fear wear mercy. I let Caldra name Maris a curse, because believing her was easier than questioning the bridge." The exile chain around Maris's wrists loosened another link. Rovan's voice roughened. "I did not forge the first death law, but I gave it breath tonight." The silver threads turned brighter. Caldra went still. The bridge answered. "Speaker accepts standing." Rhovan looked toward the throne. "Then the drain is not his to bear." Var snarled weakly as if refusing. Rhovan's mouth tightened. Not yours. Caldra stepped forward. Majesty, no. If you take the anchor burden, the throne will read you as unstable. The alpha wolf protects the throne so the alpha may remain whole. Rhovan looked at her then. You mean the wolf bleeds so the king looks untouched? Caldra said nothing. That silence entered evidence. Maris felt the bridge waiting for her. Not pulling. Waiting. Her mother's oath voice had said Thornveil blood could ask, but asking was not enough. A witness had to choose what the record heard first. She looked at the threads. So many names. Too many to read at once. Begin with the law that made Var responsible, she said. The bridge obeyed. Silver words rose from the channel. Anchor wolf bound to Alpha command by throne preservation right. Maris looked at Rhovan. Did you know he did not defend himself? I knew the alpha wolf carried throne burden. I did not ask what the burden was made from. The bridge recorded the answer. Caldra laughed, once bitter and frightened. Kings do not inspect every stone beneath their throne. Maris looked at her. No, they just stand on them. Rhovan closed his eyes, briefly accepting the strike. Then he opened them, and placed one hand flat on the bridge stone beside Var's paw. Read me a speaker, he said. Not him. The wolf bridge shook. The throne responded violently. Silver light surged from the hidden channel toward Rhovan's hand. Var snarled and tried to push him away, but Rhovan stayed still. Pain shot through his body. Maris saw it seize his shoulders, his throat, his jaw. The alpha crown on his brow flashed black, then silver, then black again. Caldra shouted, Stop him. No one moved. Not the guards. Not the nobles. Not the court healers. Because every erased name had turned brighter and no one wanted to be recorded as the hand that closed them again. The death law climbed Rhovan's arm in silver veins. Maris stepped forward. The chain tightened, warning her. Var growled low. Rhovan shook his head once. Do not take this from me. I am not taking it, Maris said. I am reading where it goes. She knelt across from him on the bridge, the rejected bride and the Alpha King separated by the glowing seam Var held open between them. Read the return path, she whispered. The bridge answered. No return path entered. Caldra's eyes closed. There it was. The death law had been designed to take, never to restore. Valora's voice rose beneath them. Then, the witness may write one. The entire bridge went silent. Maris felt the words enter her blood. Caldra's eyes snapped open. No Thornveil witness has authority to alter death law. Valora answered. Not alter. Complete what mercy forged incomplete. The exile chain around Maris opened fully. It did not fall. It reshaped. The silver links spread across her wrists and palms like oath script burning cold and bright. The black crescent over her heart opened into a bridge mark not royal, not mate-bound, but old enough to make every stone beneath Blackmere Court answer. Rhovan stared at it. Caldra whispered bridge oath air. Maris lifted her shaking hands. The erased names leaned toward her. The wolf bridge spoke through every stone at once. To return what was taken, the witness must enter the bridge mouth beneath the throne. The foundation under Blackmere Court opened, and from below came the sound of every forgotten woman breathing. The bridge mouth beneath Blackmere Court opened like a wound that had learned to breathe in silence. Cold silver light rose from the foundation, carrying voices with it. Not screams, not curses. Breaths. Hundreds of them. Women erased from mate record. Brides named dangerous. Healers called unstable. Widows declared moonsick. Daughters whose names had been carried out of royal memory because their bonds, grief, or bloodlines had become inconvenient to the peace of powerful houses. Maris Thornveil stood at the edge of the opening with oath script burning across her wrists and palms. The exile chain had not broken. It had become what it had always been meant to be. A record. Rhovan Blackmere remained kneeling on the wolf bridge with one hand pressed to the glowing seam beside Var's paw. Silver veins of the death law climbed his arm, biting into his skin like frost beneath flesh. He did not pull away. Var's black body trembled beside him, but the wolf held the stone's open ears, pinned back eyes fixed on the bridge mouth beneath the throne. High Bridge Seer Caldra Ashmorn stood near the throne, her staff lowered for the first time. Do not enter, she said. Her voice had lost none of its authority, but something in it had changed. Not regret. Not surrender. Fear stripped of ceremony. Maris looked at her. Caldra's jaw tightened. If you enter the bridge mouth, every name tied to the throne may try to return through you. Thornveil blood was never meant to carry that many records. No, Maris said. It was meant to stop them from being carried away. Caldra's eyes flashed. You think truth restores what it breaks? No, Maris answered. But it stops the breaking from being called mercy. The bridge glowed beneath her feet. Valora Thornveil's voice rose from below, steady and near. Bridge oath heir may enter only by witness, not command. Rhovan lifted his head. Pain had made his face pale, but his eyes were clear. Maris, he said. No title. No bride. No claim. Only her name. She looked at him. If you choose this, he said, I will not call you back by fear. The words entered the bridge and held. Maris felt them not as forgiveness, but as difference. He had spoken one sentence that opened her exile. Now he was refusing to make another sentence her cage. She stepped into the bridge mouth. The world went silver. For one breath, she was no longer standing beneath Blackmere Court. She was inside every road the Wolf Bridge had ever made. She saw women walking into mist with chains shining at their wrists. She saw names cut from ledgers while families slept easier. She saw bond remnants drawn through exile links fed into the Alpha Throne, turned into strength, command, border stability, inheritance, peace. Peace built from women who were not allowed to remain named. Then she saw Valora, not a body in a dungeon, not a ghost waiting to be rescued. A voice bound into foundation stones, still upright, in the only way Blackmere had failed to destroy. Valora Thornveil stood in silver light with both hands pressed to the mouth of the bridge, holding it open across the years. My daughter, she said. Maris nearly broke. She had imagined anger. She had imagined grief. She had imagined 100 questions. All that came out was, they said you crossed. Valora's face softened with a pain that did not weaken her. Then let the bridge finish correcting them. Maris lifted her burning hands. Read the return path. The bridge answered through her blood. Return requires 3 answers. First, the speaker who opened the false sentence. Rhovan's voice came from above, rough but steady. I answer. Second, the witness whose name was erased. Valora placed her hand over Maris's. I answer. Third, the living heir who chooses record over erasure. Maris closed her eyes. I answer. The bridge mouth shook. Silver light surged upward through Maris, through the foundation, through the wolf bridge, through the exile chain spread across her hands. Pain tore through her chest where the black crescent had been, but the mark did not deepen. It opened, unfolding into a narrow bridge-shaped oath mark, bright as winter moonlight. Above her, the Alpha Throne cracked from base to crown. The silver threads tied to erased names pulled free. They did not fly into Maris. They did not vanish into the sky. They returned to record. Across the hall, mate ledgers burst open. Court memory stones lit one by one. Royal archives groaned as erased pages rewrote themselves in silver script. Women's names came back into law, not as rumors, not as curses, but as standing witnesses. Serena Veilheart, Valora Thornveil, dozens more. Hundreds. The court fell to its knees under the weight of what it had survived by forgetting. Caldra staggered as her staff split down the center. Still, she did not run. Maris emerged from the bridge mouth, shaking the oath mark glowing over her heart. Rhovan reached for her, then stopped before touching. May I? He asked. The question was quiet enough that only she should have heard it. The bridge heard it too. Maris nodded. Only then did Rhovan catch her. His arms closed around her carefully, not as possession, not as public claim, but as a man holding someone he had almost allowed law to destroy. Var rose beside them, weakened but alive, and lowered his head to the bridge stones one final time. The death law shattered. The throne's hidden channel went dark. Caldra sank to one knee, not in worship, but because the record had reached her. I preserved Blackmere, she whispered. Valora's voice answered from the foundation, no longer trapped, only present. You preserved silence. Caldra looked at Maris. For the first time her eyes held no polished doctrine, and without silence Maris leaned on Rhovan's arm, but she stood by her own will. Then everyone answers. By dawn, the wolf bridge no longer pointed toward the exile forest. It curved between the court and the throne, a living road of witness that no king could command alone. The erased women were restored to record. The mate ledgers were reopened. The title bride curse was struck from Blackmere law. Rhovan did not ask Maris to return as his bride before the court. He stood before every house and said, "I rejected Maris Thornveil in fear. I gave a forged law my voice. Until she chooses otherwise, no vow between us will be spoken from my throne." The court waited for Maris to soften. She did not. She stepped onto the wolf bridge, silver cloak, torn oath mark, bright her mother's restored name shining in the record beneath her feet. "I am not returned because I was loved," she said. "I am returned because the law lied." Rhovan bowed his head. "Then I will answer until the law no longer needs your blood to correct it." Maris looked at him for a long moment. The bridge was quiet. Var stood between them, not claiming, not choosing, only listening. At last, Maris turned toward the open court records. "Begin with every name." Rhovan did not walk before her. He walked beside the bridge, one step behind the witness.